What's up, everybody? Welcome to Off the Rails, a recovery podcast dedicated to ending the stigma of addiction through open discussion on all things recovery related. My name's Mark, and with me always are Dave and Jared. And today we have a very special guest. And Dave, could you introduce our guest?
Yeah, we have Ryan joining us. Ryan Phillips from out in Vancouver, BC, West Coast boy. He's got quite the story. We're excited to have him on. I had some junior hockey experience, some pro hockey experience, and all sorts of life experience. And we're super stoked for this one. So hope everyone enjoys it, and we'll let Ryan get into it a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, extremely grateful that you guys asked me to be on your show. And let's open up the dialogue. I'm ready to go.
Awesome. So Ryan, normally we just get our guests to kind of share, their life story and what they've been through, kind of have their insight on addiction and mental health. And, we're trying to just open up that conversation for everyone. And, we hope by talking about it, we're able to make a difference in those communities.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been in the so-called mental health space, haven't we all? Everything is, comes down to our mental faculties at the end of the day. And, from a young age, drinking was a huge part of my culture, even in my family. I come from a really big family, and, every family get together was a gong show. And, so from there'd be 50 plus family members, and everyone was just, would be getting at her. The bar was full. And, I remember, God, back the age of 3, uncles and cousins and whatnot, and, throwing a beer in my hand or trying to shove it in my face as a joke. And, I just, that was, younger days. So, it was always in my face. But, my focus obviously growing up was sports. And, so I was never a big drinker at all until I left home at the age of 16. And, that's when things started to kind of go wayward, so to speak. And, the whole culture of hockey, a lot of drinking is involved with that. And, being the youngest player on the team, you just, I just really wanted to fit in. And, to fit in with the older guys, I think the second oldest guy next to me was 18. That was back in the day when there was no 20-year-old rule. I think there was predominantly more, it was like 19 and 20-year-olds mainly. And then there was, a few 18-year-olds. And then there was me, the young kid, just turned 16. So, I got hazed quite profusely. And, with that was, a lot of, being forced to drink. And if you didn't drink, then, you didn't fit in. And, the coach that I had at that time, he didn't care. He turned a blind eye. And it was just, really just wanting to be accepted, just wanting to be loved like we all do in life. And, you just, you lose your way a little bit. And, there was just different rules back then. My first year away from home was 1991. And, right off the bat, alcohol did not agree with me. But I just kept trying it and kept going at it and thought I could, I think I really crossed that threshold at a young age where I just, it took away from everything positive that I was doing. And, I can't say that I didn't have fun, many times when I was partying and drinking at a young age. But then it just got worse, and you know how that goes. It just, hockey became secondary, and I lost, kind of the love of the game at the time because of, just the culture was just so heavily, and like the team that I was playing on was just party central, win or lose, we booze. Basically, that was the motto. And, I became a very good drinker that could hold a lot of alcohol. And, with that, later on, became almost every substance known to man I've done, other than intravenous drug use with heroin. I've smoked it and I've snorted it. And God, I mean, you go down the list from ecstasy and MDMA and you name it, I've tried it. And, that disease of more, so to speak. And that became a common theme in my life. And, at the age of 27, I was basically, my weight where I'm at right now is I'm about 195, 200. I ballooned up to about 240. Hockey was done, criminal activity, after hockey took precedence. I was a lot of concussions, head trauma, and whatnot. Just the abuse that went on. I was scared to go to the rink, and just, completely, I was just like, I lost the love of the game. Basically, like I said, I lost the love of my life, which was hockey. And, it just perpetuated. And, when I got into that marijuana industry, pioneering that industry in British Columbia where it was very accepted, it was a whole different team. It was a whole different game. I didn't have to be at practice the next day. And, the parties just went on and on. And, the money was ridiculous. It was, basically, it was an empire, marijuana empire. And, not many people were doing it at that time. I got into that industry, even when I was playing professional hockey. I was running that, an organization, an illegal organization, and I own it, and it's out there in the public on National Geographic and lots of other platforms that, I'm grateful that I'm able to, share that story, to basically help others. Now that's what it really comes down to. So, 27, ballooned up to about 240, hadn't hit the gym in I don't know how long. And, I actually went to I drove myself to a walk-in clinic and with my head out the window pretty much because I was on the verge of vomiting. And I was just, just shaking and anxiety and just feeling like I literally felt like I was going to die. I was on a 3-day bender. I don't know how much blow I put up my nose, and it was always free. Being in that industry, I wasn't in the cocaine industry, but, a lot of my associates, so to speak, were bringing large amounts of cocaine back from, Colombia via Mexico, via Los Angeles into BC. And so I never had to pay for it, so I always had a chunk of blow or whatever I wanted was always free. It was just, so, went to the doctor and he said, if you don't stop, you are going to die. And, at that point right there, it was, threw in the towel. Went to my first AA meeting at 27. So that would have been about 17 years ago. And I had no idea, what to expect. I remember being asked to share, and I started sharing my life story. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? And, there's all these old timers looking at me like I'm crazy. And they're like, yeah, but you're only allowed to share for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, running on 10 minutes. I'm nervous. I'm sweating and whatnot. And, that was the beginning of my recovery journey. And, I've had a lot of relapses, since that, going back to 17 years plus whatever it is. So, you're ready when you're ready. And, I think a lot of it obviously plays into our environment and what has happened basically, obviously in our childhood as well. Abuse, I was abused by a few hockey coaches along the way. One in particular, in minor hockey, he was a guy that I, kind of looked up to, and I love to fish. He invited me over to his place to show me how to tie fishing hooks, and we were going to do some push-ups and some workouts and whatnot, he said. And next thing you know, he goes, have you ever been passed out before? And I was like, no. And next thing I know, he had his hands around my neck, and I woke up with my pants around my ankles. And yeah, that wasn't really a nice one. And I never talked about it. But then I actually found out that it happened to not just me, but a lot of other players, not just on my team, but people that were playing in the minor hockey league organization. So, a lot of things, play into why, we suppress our emotions and whatnot and try to numb ourselves out with, our drug of choice, so to speak. Mine started with alcohol, and then whatever was on the platter, yeah, let's get at her kind of thing. So, yeah, that's, so I'm coming up on 6 years, without a drink. And, I'm not one to really be, counting days or anything like that. For me, it's quality, not quantity, so to speak. I just, milestones are great. They're awesome. People that have had long-term sobriety, kudos. We all approach our recovery different. That book was written in the 30s, and addiction has changed so much since that book was written. And you want to get into addiction, we can talk about gambling, sex, money. It goes, there's a laundry list of addictions, addictive behavioral patterns of our thoughts even. So, when it comes down to it, really, it's a disease of thinking. So the minute we change our and reframe our thinking, the minute our lives begin to change and begin to flow in a better way that serves us, so we can actually help others, so to speak.
That conversation about addiction, with other things, would you say like the drug selling and the money and the more, was kind of what got you into it first? The addiction of that was maybe, before any of the drugs? I mean, obviously you're doing a little bit, or is it hard to say what came first?
Well, look, I mean, if I'm not completely honest with myself and with you and with the world, then I can't be right with me or with anybody else. So having the kind of money that was coming in, it was like winning the lottery every couple of days. You got suitcases and hockey bags, with millions of dollars coming in. And, I didn't know where to hide the money. It was, that was my biggest problem, was where to find places where to put the money, so, like, I'm not gonna, so many people glamorize my life, as an entertainment kind of thing, say like National Geographic, which is, great, all fine and dandy, honored to be on National Geographic, great. But at the same time, they don't see the pain and the hurt and, the death threats and everything that went along with it. I will say, though, that some of the best days of my life, obviously, that money did give me the capability to travel the world. I've been in over 70 countries in my life. I've experienced cultures all over the world. Wherever the party was, I was at, whether it was the Ibizas, the Croatias, the Amsterdams, all over Europe. I mean, Cancun, spring breaks, you name it. And, I didn't respect money. I didn't respect myself. And when you're not respecting yourself, it's just, you're a ticking time bomb. But, and I was a people pleaser as well. And that's something I'm still working on, is, not, I tend to, I try to always have to please everybody. And it's something that I'm definitely having to work on still to this day. But, when you're taking $100,000 for a 2-week vacation, you can just imagine what kind of party you're getting into. You are the party. And it's not like low level partying here. It's like, you're partying with lifestyles of the rich and famous, pretty much. And, it is what it is. I mean, it was, like I said, it was great, all fine and dandy when you're in the moment and being that young. But, when you get older and you look back on it, it's like, yeah, holy shit, I did that. But at the same time, the abuse, that you do to your body, And it's just, I mean, I look back, I just shake my head sometimes and go like, did I really do that? Did I live my life like that? Did I even put together an organization like that that actually was able to create that much currency? But at the end of the day, I landed myself in a federal penitentiary at the age of I just turned 24. I was 20. No, I turned 24 in prison, and spent 500 plus days without seeing the light of day in federal pen. Not cool, not fun, super depressed while I was in there. It was not a nice not a nice way to live. It was like college for criminals though. Didn't learn my lesson right away, that's for sure. I got out, and I had a lot of resentments to the fact that I wasn't going to be allowed back in the United States again, which, my daughter lived down there. I lived pretty much half my life down there with, junior hockey and, semi-pro hockey, pro hockey, whatever. And it was devastating. So I was like, what the hell, hockey's not a thing anymore. This is I'm just going to take this game to another level. And I did, and it got really dangerous. And in the end, losing so many people in my life, murders and, overdoses. I mean, I've seen it all. I have seen literally the darkest shit you can ever even imagine. And I don't wish that on my worst enemies. It still haunts me in my dreams many times. I do a lot of work around it. And, there's a lot of letting go still. Because as you get older, for me, I guess I've become a lot more compassionate and empathetic towards people, and I really did my best to turn my life around. Um, um, I I got a pardon back down to the States in 2012. Got out of that business in 2008, and yeah, God works in mysterious ways. The promises really do come true if you work it. And ended up over in Cambodia. I was filming a movie over there at the time and really trying to redeem myself. Um, and just so happened there was a bike ride going across Cambodia that I found out through an actress friend of mine at the time. And it was to help with the eradication of human trafficking and child sex slavery. And there's 21 riders rode across Cambodia in 3 weeks. And just so happened that this organization that I was riding for was run by the Department of Homeland Security. And they found out that BC's biggest bud dealer at the time, who changed his life, was now doing humanitarian work. And the day after that ride, I was granted a pardon back down to the United States of America as a free man. So, yeah, you just have to have faith and belief sometimes. And, the impossible can be possible if you really, direct your focus in the right direction.
Ryan, I had a quick question. We had a guest on here, and he talked about his abuse when he was younger, and he kind of discussed how hockey was like an outlet for him to kind of cope with the abuse. Um, is that something that kind of relates with you?
Um, you know, I just buried it under the carpet, to be honest with you. I mean, it was something that happened. I knew that it was happening. The whole thing in Moose Jaw. I'm not going to name the coach. I'm not going to name the players. Being at the back of the bus, and you hear things. And there was a player that was traded to us from the Swift Current Broncos back in '93, and he was talking about this gentleman, and I'm sure you're very aware who it is. And he would tell these stories about this coach, and having oral sex and this going on and this going on, and I don't want to get too into the profanity and the graphics of these discussions, because it was like unbelievable. Like I was like, is I had those things happen to me in a different way at a younger age, and I was definitely abused and more mentally and some physically, especially when I was playing in Regina back in '94. Being choked by my coach and whatnot, not cool. And just being scared to go to the rink. So I don't know if I wasn't coping with hockey. I was actually disgusted with the game of hockey because of what happened to my individual experience. And, it's just one of those things, like a lot of players, it was smooth sailing. They went to a team, there was no rookie hazing. They got drafted into the NHL, great. I was the guy that was rated high in the draft, and had all the stars and dreams laid right in front of me. And but things happen, and things happen for a reason. I believe that nothing ever happens by mistake, and a lot of lessons, that's for sure. And I will say that where I'm at today has given me a good platform to be able to speak on these subjects with truth and integrity. And even with the slip ups that I've had, mainly those slip ups were when I was still in that business. And until I was able to get completely honest with myself, you know, um, being in the legal business and surrounded by the party all the time, and showing up at a lot of these parties sober, I'd be sober for say like 9 months, 9, 10 months, and feeling pretty good. And, but I'm still making illegal money, and I'm still at these big parties. And next thing you know, I'm, swearing to God in Barcelona, Spain, that I'm not going to have a drink in my hand. And, next thing you know, you're surrounded by a bunch of supermodels from Italy, and you got ecstasy in your mouth and 2 Heinekens. And next thing you know, that leads to shots and 3 days up straight, and you're pissing off the balcony, kicked out of the hotel. And then you got a headache like nobody's business, and you're in bed for 2 days and feeling like a piece of crap. So, I got story after story. I could go on for years on how many drunkalogs and drugalogs I got, but where I'm at today is a completely different space. There's a major mental health and addiction crisis going on right now globally, and that's the facts. And so whatever I can do, just to be here, and just to pass a message of hope on to people, that to anyone that's listening. If I can do it, you can do it. So I dodged many bullets, not just from guns, but definitely from I know for a fact that I could go, and that was my main problem, is I could just keep going and going and going, whether I had coke in my nose or other drugs. I could stay up for 3 or 4 days just on alcohol, and not and I wouldn't puke. Never got my stomach pumped, none of that crap or whatever. But and that's not a good thing. I wish that would have happened to me in the beginning, because then it probably would have taught me a lesson to never pick up again, and I would have been more sturdy and steadfast in my so-called early recovery. But wasn't the case. I had to, I tend to learn lessons the hard way.
I had a quick question about the abuse.
Yeah.
In sports, like there's a lot of people coming out, and it's like starting to, with like even all sports and all athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think like people put a lot of trust and faith in their coaches or mentors?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as a 16-year-old. Your dreams coming true. You're the gateway to the NHL is junior hockey, and being a 16-year-old, highly touted, you're like, okay, like this is like ready to go. And I listened to my coach on the phone, and he was the nicest guy in the world. I thought, I was just like, I was just a kid, and it was so unexpected and so blindsided. But with everything that's gone on, especially with guys coming out and talking about this, I think it's beautiful. It's ugly but beautiful at the same time, because these incidences need to come to an end. It's absolute decrepit and disgusting. Parents right off the bat. I had no idea where I was going to live that first year I went away from home. I was 16. I was told I was going to be on the team and made the team before I even went to training camp. And in my mind, laying at my parents' house in bed, my dream was like, okay, I'm going to be in a nice home with a nice family. Hopefully they'll have a kid that I can teach hockey to and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what I thought in my mind. And next thing I know, I'm getting dropped off at this haunted house pretty much. And, my dad, he didn't know any better. He did the best he could with what he knew. He dropped me off at this place. He took my bags up these creaky stairs. There was barely any food in the joint. And it was hard, because I didn't want to say anything, to jeopardize my position on the team. But, I think I lost probably 30 pounds. As a 16-year-old, I was 185 pounds. And I think I was a buck 45 after my first 3 months on the team, getting slivers in my butt, promised all the ice time in the world. And I'm looking at guys that were, and I don't want to come off arrogant or cocky, but were half as good as me, that were playing, getting all kinds of ice time. And, I'm either in the bleachers or getting slivers in my butt. And I'm looking at my coach just like, why? And this hatred just started boiling up in me. And, that really, really perpetuated into, you just, that, being in that state of fear, it starts to manifest in other areas of your life. You stop caring about school, you stop caring about this, that, it's, my life literally at the age of 16 became unmanageable. So, kudos to all these guys. I think Sheldon Kennedy was the first guy that came out, and then Theron, and a lot more have started to come out. Kyle Beach, fairly recently, that was about 7 or 8 months ago with the Blackhawks. And these are acts that just need to come to a halt immediately. And on the whole mental health spectrum, what's going on, I know there's a lot of teams that are hiring mental health coaches to come in, talk to the players and whatnot. And I think that's really, really important that's got to, start at from the grassroots. I think these kids should be groomed at a young age about, what mental health really is, and, how hurtful it can be. It's just like bullying. It's like, going to school and getting, the high school bully or the elementary school bully. Being bullied is not nice. And, the sad thing is usually the guy that ends up getting bullied ends up being a bully as well. And, I wasn't that guy. I was never a bully. I've always been pretty sensitive, so to speak. I hated violence. I've never been a violent guy, although I can fight, and I've definitely been in my fair share, mostly off the ice, to be honest with you. And, just having to stick up for yourself, right? But, at the end of the day, it's a beautiful game. And I just, I really wish with all my heart that, things can get better. I think we're taking a turn in the right direction. And, I'm about to embark on a project here. We start shooting a television series in June. It's all about redemption. And, we're going to be talking to a lot of athletes about, addiction, abuse, all the things that people don't want to talk about, mental health. We want to really reframe the way society and the world looks and judges, so to speak, mental health, and end the stigma completely, because there should be none. And all these mental health days and, Bell U Talks, God bless them, and mental health day should be every day, 24/7, if somebody is suffering, because you can have all these helplines and all this kind of stuff or whatever, but where do we go for the actual true resources? I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on friends to go to rehab facilities, and a few are dead. And the other guys, I don't talk to them anymore. They relapse quite soon after. A lot of them work. I mean, obviously they just didn't want it bad enough. And I understand that. I've been down that road, but I'm at the age now, I'm 46. for me to pick up and use again would be to die. I literally, I mean, even if I didn't die, I probably couldn't live with myself. So like I said, I'm one that, I've definitely, I've been around, I've seen it all, or seen most, so to speak. Maybe I haven't seen it all, but I've been down to East Hastings on the downtown east side. I've done a lot of work down there. Helping, feeding the homeless and whatnot. I don't want to toot my horn. I never announced that to people or anything like that, but it's the highly condensed area in the world for heroin, fentanyl, and whatnot. And so, people are shooting up in the alleys, cops are driving by back and forth. It's like Zombieville. It's disgusting. And I feel so bad for those people. But that's the thing is where did it all start? Where did the trauma start? Usually it starts in childhood. For me, like I said, I had a pretty damn good childhood. My parents did the best they could, but at the same time, my dad pushed me very hard, and I did drink. I grew up in a very highly party atmosphere, drinking family. So, yeah.
Ryan, how was your family dynamic kind of, I guess, how was it when you went to prison, and was it affected, and were you able to like kind of build those relationships back?
My mom and my dad were absolutely crushed when I went to prison. And I was so humiliated, not only for myself, but for them as well, because at the time, obviously marijuana was illegal. It's legal now and completely accepted. But they took so many glares. They had so many people, talk behind their back that got back to them about how bad a person I was and whatnot. And it all got back to me. They didn't want to tell me, but they felt that they had to and whatnot. And, my father and I have always had a very open and honest relationship. And, we haven't seen each other a lot during the whole pandemic. Extremely blessed. I saw him last night, and it was just, I love my dad more than anything in the world. I know it crushed him really, really bad when I went inside. And they came down. I said, I don't want you to see me like this. I'm in prison fatigues. Every time I had a visitor that came to visit me, I would have to go down the elevator and get strip searched, and and spread my cheeks and cough, and that was very uncomfortable at a young age. You go from having a pretty up and coming successful hockey career that leads into a different life, and you got what you think is everything that you ever wanted on the exterior, and next thing you're in a federal penitentiary with nothing but you, and having to defend yourself. And prison is a lot more than what we see on TV. It's worse. And being a young in there at such a young age, thank God I think my sense of humor got me through. I tried to be as positive as I could, and I really didn't have a whole lot of problems, although I saw a lot of really, really hurtful things go down in there. And you talk about addiction. I mean, I saw guys coming off the street off heroin, being in the yard there. It was a closed in yard. There'd be guys coming off heroin, shaking like nobody's business. I didn't even know what was going on because I'd never, at that point in my life, I'd never used heroin. And I'm looking at these people shaking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in here with these people. Like, what the fuck is going on? And I mean, it was a harsh reality that, I was like, is this really happening? And then, when you're in there, it's almost like you feel like you're never going to get out. I was Xing off days on a calendar in my locker in my 8x12 cell. And, there was this old man in there. Well, I guess he, old then to me because I was young, but, he kind of took me under his wing, and, he was very positive to me. It's not going to last forever. He'd done time before. He was in there for 250 pounds of high grade BC bud that was shipped over in an army vehicle. I was in there for 103 pounds conspiracy. And, we started writing poetry. I started writing a lot in there. I started reading a lot in there. And, I was sober the whole time I was in there too. So when I came out, I had a very clear mind. Although I was angry, I had a clear mind. I made the decision to get right back into it. And, I did what I did. And, like I said, I dodged a lot of bullets. And, um, you know, here I am today. And, I know my purpose. And my purpose now is just being the best version of myself. And, being divinely guided. And, God leads the way in my life. And I know when I'm off path. And when I'm off path and out of alignment, I know that it's something within myself that I got to really look at. And yeah, it's an inside job, that's for sure.
Ryan, how long did you have to go without seeing your daughter, and how's that relationship these days? You get to see her quite often now, or?
My daughter's in the United States. We have an incredible relationship. We always have. But we went 12 years where I couldn't go to the United States. But her mom came up to Canada with my daughter, Sadie. I would say probably maybe 6 or 7 times during those 12 years. So I didn't see her a whole lot. She came up for a couple Christmases. She always wanted to stay. She lives in Kansas, and Kansas is very flat, not a whole lot of mountains. I'm out in BC here, so when she would come here, I'd take her for lots of hikes, and she just loved the nature and whatnot. She's a new mother, and she's an ex-addict herself. She just surpassed the 1 year mark. She was addicted to methamphetamines, and I am so proud of her. She has done that all on her own. There's a lot of people that extended hands out to help, but she the whole COVID thing that has gone down. It was difficult, for a lot for her. Just being a new mother, coming off methamphetamines after 4 years. She was on the streets for 2 years as well. So there's the wounds run deep in my family when it comes to not just my daughter, myself, my family. We have really been affected by addiction. And but I can stand here today and I can say I am so goddamn proud of my daughter. We talk sometimes 10 times a day. And she's a light. She's just a guiding light in my life. And just to see her turn it around how she has, basically on her own, because I haven't been able to cross the border. I will be this summer, 100%. And it's tough. I see her on FaceTime and whatnot, and then she's gone. And there's nothing more than I want to do than just put my arms around her and tell her I love her. I'm gonna get emotional here for a second. Sorry, but yeah. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah, kids do that to you.
Oh, that was an amazing answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching your TED Talks the past couple days, right? And
which one?
I watched the one on the Cambodia, the sex slavery TED Talk, and I was tearing up when I was watching it. And right, and I was like, man, there's so many shitty people in the world, right?
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking when I was watching this. But I don't know if it's my recovery or I kind of got this like new attitude where I look for the good in things. And as I was thinking about all the shitty people in the world, I was like, here's a guy that's doing something great. And I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for, being an advocate for that and doing great things. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the acknowledgement. Straight up, I never did it for fanfare, for accolades. I did it out of the goodness of my heart, and I had no idea what was to come after. And I guess do good, get good. And I went into it with blind faith, and faith led the way and gave me a gift. And the gift was definitely, being able to see Sadie again, get the pardon. And, the TED Talks, they asked me to do it. And, I'd never taken a public speaking course in my life. Did a lot of interviews, but, I closed down that TED Talks in front of 10,000 people. You could hear a pin drop in that place at the Queenie Theater in Vancouver here. And, yeah, it was, there was a lot of tears in the audience as well. And, yeah, it was pretty crazy, after the event. Like I was swarmed pretty much. And, yeah, all I can remember is there was thousands of people surrounding me and, asking for autographs and crying on my shoulder and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, I don't know. I just delivered a talk on this, like, a really, really crazy business that is global, not just in Cambodia, as you see in the talk. It's a worldwide epidemic. And, it's disgusting. It's a multi-billion, hundreds of billions of dollars of business. There's people being trafficked every day all across the world. And unfortunately, in Cambodia, it's the children, it's the kids, that are trafficked at the age of 2, 3, 4 years old, being raped by, men that think that, having sex with a virgin can cure the HIV virus. So a lot of these children, these helpless kids, 2, 3, 4 years old are contracting AIDS, HIV, and other, sexually transmitted diseases at such a young age. And it's so sad. It's just, it's a wormhole of not so nice stuff that goes down in the world. But you know what? We got to look at the positive, is that there is good people in this world. There's a lot of good, I think there's a lot better people in this world that there's a lot more good than bad. And we got to focus on the good, and we got to say, you know what, the bad can't win. And, somebody's got to stand up for these kids. And it's just like mental health. And that plays right into the mental health spectrum as well. Think how these kids' mental health has been affected, as they recover in some of these shelters and whatnot. I know girls that I'm still friends with. I met at, back in 2012, 2000. I broke across Cambodia 3 times in my life, Vietnam twice. It's not just one time that I've done this. I put a lot of service work into that spectrum. And, I've met these girls when they were young. And, then I've gone back to Cambodia many, many times. Southeast Asia, 35 times in total. Cambodia, probably 15 plus, something like that. And, we still talk over social media on Facebook here and there. And then when I go back, I've seen the growth, and a lot of these girls are thriving now, but they've needed a lot of counseling. And they do get that with this organization that I was involved with. So, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't happen for everyone. For the blessed ones, it does. And for the unfortunates, death, or they die from some sort of disease. That's just the truth of the matter. And so, same with the mental health spectrum. It's, when you look at depression, anxiety, the panic attacks that are going down these days with people, the unrest, the unpredictability of the future with what's going on with the global pandemic, which is the virus. But really, at the end of the day, this virus has created a mental health crisis like nobody's business. And it takes a strong, strong person to be able to get through this. And it's got to be power in numbers. It really does. And, we can have these talks all day long, but it's really coming together, and, coming together as one and uniting as one, and really getting these solution-based ideas, not just ideas, the resources that are accessible, because there's waiting lists that are so long for people that want to get help, but they can't get help because these treatment centers are full. And, so, it's like I said, it's going to take an army, an army of like-minded, wonderful people out there that can come together and unite and make a difference. And I'm one of those people. I mean, whatever I can do, I'll do. And that's kind of where I stand today.
Ryan, what do you think, like, for people in addiction, not everyone has the funds or money or anything to get into rehab or treatment. And I know waiting lists are crazy long for like covered treatments.
Yeah.
What do you think
See, that's a
should be
really
done
good question.
should be
That's
done to yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I had some friends of mine that actually opened up 3 treatment centers in Malibu a few years back. And, these guys were recovering alcoholics, addicts, whatnot. And it's a huge business. In Malibu, it was, $12,000 a bed, for 1 month, $12,000 a bed no, it was $12,000 a week, actually. Sorry, $12,000 a week. It was, they had 3 houses in Malibu. So these places are killing it. And, the thing is that you nailed it right on the head. It's like, what do the families do that don't have the funds to send their children or their loved ones to these rehab facilities? What do they do? So unfortunately, I don't know how many calls I take. I'm not an addiction counselor. I'm not. I can only give advice. And, my phone rings. I get a lot of calls, suicide calls. I got to talk guys off ledges. I got the whole 9 yards. I mean, we had someone in our building here not that long ago. We found a noose in his up in his room. He wasn't drinking, but at the same time, it's just like, oh man, it's crushing. It's crushing because in a perfect world, there would be infinite amounts of help out there in these centers, and it would be free and covered because, it's like only the rich people can afford the Edgewoods of the world that costs, $32,000 a month to put a person through a program. And I've been to a lot of these treatment centers, and one in particular over on the island. And when you walk in there, there's plaques on the wall of all the people that have passed away, and they're the ones that have been in there. And there's thousands, and that's a reminder that when you go in, that if you don't follow the steps and really have that burning desire to want to get clean, then look to the left, look to the right. Probably one of them is not going to make it.
Yeah, I think, like, too, a lot of people are forced to go, and
Yeah.
that takes away spots of people that want to go. So it's like some people will go and then know they're going to start drinking right when they leave, or doing whatever their drug of choice is. They're just in there to please someone, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had one
So
guy like that in my life. I sent him there for 2 months, and I was like, "You got to go." Like this guy was. I mean, he was on his deathbed pretty much. He was just like, he was using and abusing like I've never seen. And I sent him there. I drove him over there, and I actually was over in Thailand on a golf course with my father and a friend at the time. And I get a buzz on my BlackBerry, and it was, it was 6 or 7 days out. He relapsed, and that was me forcing him to go. He wasn't ready, and I've since heard. I don't talk to him anymore, but through the grapevine, uh, uh, I've heard that he's actually got clean and sober, through multiple stints in other facilities and whatnot. But there's so many millions and millions of people out there that are suffering in silence. And that's one of the reasons I rode across Canada in 2019. It wasn't just for bipolar, mental health, whatever. It was for, addiction is mental health. It's that's what I was riding for. Anything to do that pertains to mental health, which is addiction, all that kind of stuff. That's why I rode across Canada. That's why I rode across the 4 other countries as well. I did that for that purpose. So just to show that, how much awareness can come through action, and that someone who, struggled with so much, addictive stuff in their life could actually do that, just to lead by example and say, hey, if this guy can do it, I can do it. So, if they could just change one life, that's one life, just one life at a time, right? And you never know. You just got to put your faith in God, a God of your understanding, higher power, higher mind, source energy, whatever you want to call it. You can call your higher power your coffee mug if you want. But, for me, I care so much about people. And, along that ride, especially, going through a lot of those small towns, especially in Manitoba, Winnipeg was brutal. A lot of towns in Ontario. I mean, as you know, everywhere, it's everywhere. It's rampant. The fentanyl crisis right now is like never before. And the thing is just, a grain of salt of that fentanyl has enough power to kill a man. And, but sometimes, the addiction is more powerful than the desire to stop. And that's just the reality of life, is that you got to be fearless and thorough from the very start. And if you're not, then there's a huge chance that you're not going to make it. And you gotta want it, and you gotta want it bad. And there's a great life waiting for you on the other side if you have the desire to actually put in the work. But you got to put in the work. That's the thing. So many people, they go in, they say, oh, okay, I'll go into a facility, or I'll get clean and sober, and then that's it, and I'm good. But this is our sobriety, so to speak, is contingent on our spiritual maintenance. And so, it's you look at those steps. Those steps are taken from the Bible. They can be they can be pertained to anything in life. Admitting that you're powerless is number one. Is actually admitting that you are powerless over the drug of your choice, or the addiction of your whatever it is. You have to admit that you're powerless and understand why. And then I guess my only advice that I can say is that, if you are suffering, no matter what, there's got to be someone out there that cares. And maybe I'm the guy. I don't know. I mean, hit me up on social media. I can maybe direct you to the right person. I don't own a treatment center. Maybe I will one day. I don't know. But the way things are going right now in society, where we're at, it's 2022. I pray that we're coming out the other end here with this, with the whole pandemic thing, and more resources will be available. And I think a lot of people are starting to wake up spiritually. I think this is a massive spiritual awakening at the same time as it is, we've lost so many people. I talk to a lot of people on a regular basis that they don't have the same friends as they did 2 years ago. A lot of people have different viewpoints on certain aspects of what has gone on over the last couple of years. And, moving forward is the only way we can do. I always say, I like to look out the front, the front of the car, not the rear view like I used to. That was my old days. I drove out the rear view, making sure there was nobody following me. But these days, it's all about moving forward and enjoying your life, because we all deserve to enjoy our life if we're doing the right thing. And it's all about just doing the next right, honest thing that's in your heart, and reaching out to help other people that are having a hard time, because there is so many people having a hard time, and they need a hand up. And just making those phone calls sometimes when you don't want to, can change a person's trajectory on that day, and completely change the way they look on the rest of their week, or even change their life. So we're not saints, or maybe we are, you never know, But I believe that we're all gifts from God. I believe that we're all being divinely guided if we allow ourselves to be. And, with that being said, we just got to put our best first foot forward, all of us, in any of these crises, so to speak. And right now, going through the biggest mental health crisis in the world that obviously includes addiction. We have to stay steadfast and strong in our hearts and be there for each other.
I had a quick one about, I coach hockey. I've coached hockey last, I don't know how many years, but, as hazing, I think it's kind of on the decline as far as serious hazing that maybe you experienced, or a lot of people older, even myself, I'm almost 40, kind of growing up, and buddies, I've heard a lot of stories. As that's kind of pushed to the side, do you see like a new, whether it's social media or something that's very taxing mentally on young athletes that, could lead to more mental health? Obviously, I think social media is a big one, but
I do. Well, social media is a huge addiction as well, and I'm guilty of it as well. The thing is too, is so many people over the last couple of years, it's the only way they can really communicate is a lot of it is over social media. And I've seen, people attacking people through social media war. I mean, it's not nice, and a lot of people formulate relationships over social media, which is they can be positive, and then a lot of it too is the veils of illusion of what you see on social media is completely different than that person's life, which they post, which is like, once you post something and write something underneath it, that's past. Okay. So what's going on in the present moment with that person's life and how they live their life can be completely different than what you see on social media. So on social media, they could have the big smile, or they could be pretending that they're depressed or whatnot, or it's like, or playing a victim role or whatever. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it, but I think social media can be used as such a positive platform if used in the right fashion. It can be used in a destructive way, especially with these young kids these days, because, I know, like, even with my own daughter, my daughter, she's turning 23 this July, and, she gets attacked a lot on social media with her friends. She's coming out of a pretty dark place, and she's doing really well, but she still gets judged. And, so she takes it pretty personally. And I'm not going to look, I'm guilty of that as well. There's people that have, fallen off on my social media page and unfollowed me and whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, I think you just can't take things too personally. Don't assume things. Don't take things too personally. Always do your best. I think there's 4 agreements. They wrote a book about it. There's 3.
Be impeccable with your words.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always tell myself, I say, I'm not going to post for a week or this or that. And then I'll see a post or something like that. And I'll be like, I just got to try to inspire somebody through something. And maybe if, 2 people out of 200 people that maybe look at it, or I don't even know how many followers I have on Instagram. I've had my account hacked a couple times, whatever. But, at the end of the day, I think it's a good little, it's a good funnel if you can put out a positive message of inspiration. And, pure inspiration really comes through passion, purpose, and really showing that and being able to back that up, it's, anybody can say, I'm a mental health advocate. Everybody can be a mental advocate. I mean, I never asked to be a mental health advocate. I just decided that I really wanted to help with that cause, before the whole popularity contest, so to speak, started to happen with oh, I'm a mental health advocate for this or for this or for that organization. I mean, Christ, there should be one organization, and that's humanity. Humanity should be the organization of mental health, not just one,
Absolutely.
Oh, there you are.
Get out there for a sec. Yeah, my mom was calling on the other line. I had to decline it for a sec. Sorry. Checking in on me. She probably picked up on my vibes that I was getting emotional about my daughter. But she's been awesome with Sadie as well. You know, they got their relationship stronger than ever. And, you know, my family has really been the ones that have helped out the most. You know, so grateful for that. And, you know, like I said, I can't say enough about my daughter's situation right now. You know, I see so many big things in life coming down the pipes with my daughter, and it, you know, it's I get emotional about it, but at the same time, it's you know, I feel like she's my guardian angel on my shoulder half the time. You know, she gets me through a lot of my dark days, that's for sure, because I have them. I do. I suffer from depression here and there. You know, I can't get out of bed. I get, you know, when I'm in my head, I get those blankets over top of me. You know, you see me now, I look fine and dandy, but you never know. You know, tomorrow morning might be, I didn't sleep much last night. I didn't feel 100% this morning. I felt great last night. You know, life's full of ups and downs. That's the things, twists and turns and curves, and, you know, it's a roller coaster. So it's, you know, really, it's the journey, not the destination. We've heard that, you know, so many times before, obviously, but it's just about embracing the present moment. It really is. And that's something that I'm learning, you know, on a daily. When I was wrapped up in the old days, I was always in the present moment. But, you know, you get clean and sober, your eyes start to open a little bit more and you see what's going on around you. And it's not always so pretty. So, try to look at the beauty of life, and you know, at the end of the day, living an attitude of gratitude. That's a little bit of my advice right there, is, you know, be grateful for what you have, be grateful for what you don't have. And, you know, we all have the ability to make a change if we're breathing today in our hearts, and our hearts are beating. That's it. You know, really, it's we got to keep it simple. Less is more.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Awesome,
much.
Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You fired me up. I needed to be.
I'm glad I fired you up. I'm glad I was able to do that. And for all, I'll send a Don Cherry out there. For all you young kids out there listening, don't deal drugs. Prison sucks.
Awesome. Thanks again so much.
You bet. Yeah,
Guys,
absolute pleasure. You guys are great. Keep up the good work. And you know what? I'm proud of all three of you guys. I think you guys are all coming up on what, a year? So were you guys all in treatment together?
We were.
We're like about 6 months.
So you guys are like the Three Stooges, eh?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Has anyone ever said that to you guys before?
No, but that's
Okay,
funny.
good. That's a first. I'm gonna chalk that up as a win.
All right, guys. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please reach out. And if you want to be on our podcast, just send us a message on social media. Thank you so much for listening.